The Bermuda Triangle has fascinated generations, a patch of the Atlantic bounded by Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. It's been blamed for vanishing ships and planes. To many, it feels like the ocean's haunted house. But is it really? Tonight, we'll sift through fact, fiction, and NOAA and Navy records to uncover the truth. This stretch of ocean covers nearly 500,000 square miles, larger than California and Texas combined. It's one of the busiest waterways on Earth, with cargo ships, cruise liners, and aircraft crisscrossing daily. With such heavy traffic, accidents are bound to happen. The question is, are they more mysterious here or simply more famous? Much of the Triangle's reputation stems from headlines. A missing boat here, a lost flight there, and suddenly patterns are drawn. Stories spread faster than wreckage is found. By the time NOAA and Navy experts publish explanations, the public has already embraced a far more thrilling version: the sea swallowing vessels without a trace. One of the most famous cases is Flight 19, a squadron of Navy bombers lost in December 1945. 5 aircraft vanished during a training exercise, cementing the Triangle's legend. Pop culture describes it as if they were devoured by some invisible force. But the Navy's own investigation shows something far less supernatural and far more human. Radio transcripts from that night reveal Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the squadron leader, believed he was over the Florida Keys when he was actually far out in the Atlantic. His compass was unreliable, and he ordered his men in the wrong direction. By the time they realized the mistake, daylight was fading, fuel was nearly gone, and survival was impossible. To make matters worse, a rescue plane sent to search for Flight 19 exploded mid-air due to a fuel leak, killing its crew instantly. This tragic accident added layers of mystery: 6 aircraft and dozens of men lost in one night. Newspapers framed it as a Triangle curse, while Navy records described mechanical failure, poor navigation, and terrible luck. Another legendary loss was the USS Cyclops in 1918, a massive Navy collier with over 300 men aboard. It vanished without sending a distress call, sparking endless speculation. Some claimed the Triangle swallowed it whole, yet Navy records suggest it was overloaded, had engine trouble, and likely sank in rough seas. No mystery, just misfortune magnified by war. In 1963, the Marine Sulphur Queen disappeared with 39 men. Again, it was quickly linked to the Triangle, but Coast Guard findings pointed to severe structural problems and dangerous cargo. The tanker carried molten sulfur, which made it unstable. Investigators concluded the ship was unseaworthy. A tragedy, yes, but one born of negligence rather than curses. NOAA emphasizes a simple truth: the Bermuda Triangle is not statistically more dangerous than any other busy ocean. With hurricanes, the Gulf Stream, and sudden storms, it's certainly treacherous. But the data doesn't show any spike in vanishings beyond what you'd expect in such a busy corridor. The mystery is less about numbers, more about storytelling. The Navy's stance is even clearer. Their accident reports detail storms, errors, and equipment failures, never paranormal activity. For sailors and aviators, the Triangle is simply another part of the ocean, albeit one that demands respect. Yet, for the public, the name alone is enough to conjure visions of vanishing fleets and phantom forces lurking beneath the waves. Weather is a crucial part of the Triangle's reputation. The region sits in the path of hurricanes and tropical storms, some of the most violent weather systems on Earth. A small plane or boat caught in such a storm can be destroyed in minutes, leaving little trace. That absence fuels the belief in supernatural vanishings. The Gulf Stream, a powerful ocean current, runs directly through the Triangle. It can sweep wreckage away within hours, scattering clues far from their origin. Search teams often arrive too late, finding no oil slicks, no debris, no evidence. To the public, this looks like a vanishing act. To NOAA, it's just ocean physics at work. Another explanation, often twisted into mystery, involves magnetism. The Triangle is one of a few regions where compasses sometimes align directly with true north instead of magnetic north. Inexperienced navigators once misread this variation, steering miles off course. To a frightened pilot, it may have seemed like instruments went haywire. To NOAA, it was predictable magnetic deviation. Human error plays a bigger role than many want to admit. Sailors and pilots, especially amateurs, sometimes underestimate the risks of open ocean travel. Bad weather ignored, fuel miscalculated, equipment poorly maintained. These account for many so-called mysteries. But in the Triangle, each loss is retold as part of a larger curse rather than individual tragedy. The modern era has seen fewer Triangle stories, largely because technology has improved. GPS, satellite forecasts, and better communications mean fewer vessels vanish without explanation. Planes can be tracked, ships monitored, storms predicted. As science advanced, the mysteries faded. What remains is a cultural legend, not a scientific anomaly. That alone speaks volumes about its true origins. So why did the Triangle legend grow so quickly? Much of it comes down to storytellers. In 1964, writer Vincent Gaddis first coined the term Bermuda Triangle. His articles and later books exaggerated cases, omitting details like bad weather or mechanical failures. Stripped of context, disappearances seemed magical, mysterious, and terrifying, perfect ingredients for a legend. Charles Berlitz took it further in the 1970s with his bestseller, The Bermuda Triangle. He suggested aliens, time warps, even Atlantis as explanations. Millions of readers were enthralled. Yet critics found his accounts riddled with inaccuracies, selective evidence, and exaggeration. The Triangle wasn't a product of curses, it was a product of publishing. But once the myth took hold, it spread worldwide. Television specials in the 1970s and 80s amplified the myth. With ominous music, dramatic reenactments, and thunderous narration, they turned naval accidents into ghost stories. Rarely did they mention Navy investigations or NOAA reports. Audiences wanted mystery, not paperwork. These shows cemented the Triangle's reputation in pop culture, turning it into a household phrase. By the 21st century, the Triangle was more brand than danger. Cruises marketed passages through the area as thrilling experiences. Tourist shops in Bermuda and Florida sold shirts and mugs with glowing Triangle logos. For locals, the myth became an economic tool. For visitors, it was a chance to flirt with danger, safely packaged for vacation. Yet beneath the hype, the Triangle offers insight into human psychology. We are drawn to the unknown. When events defy easy explanation, our imaginations fill the gaps. In the Triangle, storms and mistakes become evidence of cosmic forces. The myth endures because it satisfies our need for wonder, even when science provides ordinary but less exciting answers. One often overlooked aspect is how memory shapes myth. Thousands of ships and planes cross the Triangle safely each year, but these journeys are forgotten. A single disappearance, however, is retold endlessly. Over decades, this selective memory creates the illusion of extraordinary danger, when in fact it's the silence of safe voyages that tells the real story. Consider the Carroll A. Deering, a schooner found abandoned in 1921 near Cape Hatteras. It's often claimed as a Triangle case, yet the location lies outside its borders. Coast Guard reports pointed to crew mutiny or navigation failures, but the ghostly image of a deserted ship was irresistible to writers who folded it into the Triangle myth anyway. The mystery deepens because debris often disappears quickly. Wreckage is scattered by currents or sinks to depths beyond reach. Without evidence, speculation thrives. Families searching for closure face only questions. And in the absence of answers, legends grow. The Navy and NOAA see natural explanations while the public imagines something far more sinister beneath the waves. Psychologists note that humans crave patterns. We connect unrelated events into meaningful narratives. A plane lost in 1948, a ship in 1963. Another years later, suddenly these separate tragedies are bound together. The Triangle becomes a symbol, not of data, but of storytelling. It shows how culture weaves randomness into myth that feels unshakably real. The media amplified this effect. Vanished without a trace makes a better headline than ship sank in a storm. Newspaper writers and television producers knew drama sold. The Triangle became a marketing tool, drawing audiences worldwide. It wasn't just an ocean region. It was a story brand, perfectly packaged for thrill seekers, publishers, and broadcasters alike. Cold War paranoia fueled the fire. In the 1950s and 60s, suspicion of government secrecy was at its peak. Some speculated that disappearances were military cover-ups or experiments gone wrong. The truth was less exotic. Many accidents were due to storms or malfunctions. But in an era of mistrust, the idea of hidden truths felt more believable than NOAA's reports. The triangle's name itself helped seal its fame. Triangles have mystical resonance in folklore, from pyramids to occult symbols. Coupled with Bermuda, which evoked exotic beaches and distant mystery, the phrase was irresistible. Imagine if it had been called the Atlantic Quadrilateral. It likely would never have caught on. Words gave this legend wings more powerful than waves. For NOAA and the Navy, however, the emphasis was always practical. Each disappearance was a case study: storms to avoid, instruments to recalibrate, hulls to reinforce. These agencies treated incidents as tragedies to learn from, not mysteries to mythologize. Their meticulous records are reminders that while stories can drift, science remains firmly anchored to reality. Yet the triangle persists because mystery is entertaining. People enjoy imagining forces beyond explanation. Films, books, and documentaries keep the legend alive, often sidelining the boring truth. The irony is that the real explanations, hurricanes, rogue waves, human mistakes, are just as dramatic. They don't need embellishment. Nature itself already holds enough terror and awe. Tourism thrives on this paradox. Visitors to Bermuda, Miami, or Puerto Rico buy tours advertised as sailing into the triangle. For many, it's a harmless thrill, like riding a roller coaster. They know it's mostly myth, yet the branding works. The Bermuda Triangle, in this sense, has transformed from a feared zone into a marketable adventure. Some triangle theories suggest methane gas eruptions from the seafloor might sink ships or disrupt aircraft. NOAA acknowledges methane hydrates exist, but there's no solid evidence linking them to triangle disappearances. Still, the idea of natural gas bubbling up and swallowing vessels resonates with audiences. It sounds supernatural, but in truth, it's geology, not curses, that fascinates scientists most. Weather phenomena are equally striking. Waterspouts, tornadoes over water, can appear suddenly and tear small boats apart. Microbursts can slam planes toward the sea with little warning. In regions like the Triangle, where tropical storms are common, these events are dangerous but explainable. To science, they're natural meteorology. To storytellers, they become fuel for a reputation of vanishing acts. Statistics reinforce NOAA's point. When accident rates are adjusted for the sheer volume of ships and flights, the Triangle doesn't stand out. Insurance companies don't charge higher premiums for vessels crossing it. Maritime organizations don't list it as unusually dangerous. The math simply doesn't support the myth. The danger zone is, statistically, no more hazardous than comparable seas. The Triangle's fame then lies not in numbers but narrative. Myths endure because they entertain, warn, or explain the unexplainable. Sailors once feared krakens and sea serpents. Modern culture latched onto the Triangle. Both are ways to cope with uncertainty. The difference is that today, NOAA and Navy records exist to test and disprove the legends. Still, myths have value. They keep people interested in the ocean. Many marine scientists admit their childhood curiosity about the Bermuda Triangle helped spark careers. What began as fascination with mystery transformed into dedication to oceanography, meteorology, or naval science. Myths can mislead, but they can also inspire. The Triangle is both problem and gift. The Navy treats the Triangle as a teaching tool. In safety briefings, it's sometimes used to remind recruits of how quickly conditions can turn fatal. The message isn't about curses, but respect. By acknowledging the Triangle's reputation, officers turn myth into lesson. The sea is unpredictable, unforgiving, and always worthy of caution. Yet for families of victims, sensationalism can sting. When loved ones' deaths are turned into ghost stories, the real human tragedy is overshadowed. For NOAA researchers and Navy officers, this is frustrating. Behind every mystery are fathers, sons, brothers who never returned. Treating them as folklore dishonors their memory, turning grief into entertainment. This tension, between honoring truth and enjoying mystery, defines the Triangle. Science seeks answers, while media thrives on questions. Audiences prefer wonder to data. Both sides keep the legend alive. It's less about whether the triangle is real and more about what it represents. The clash between curiosity, commerce, and cold facts. Despite debunking, the triangle remains culturally powerful. It captures primal fears of being lost, swallowed, or forgotten. These anxieties are universal, not confined to geography. But the triangle offers a stage for them, a name, and an image. It packages uncertainty into something marketable, repeatable, and enduring, half warning, half entertainment. Ultimately, the Bermuda Triangle is not a place of supernatural danger, but a story. And stories, unlike ships, never sink. NOAA's data and Navy records give us clarity, yet the myth endures because it feeds imagination. That balance, truth anchored in science, mystery alive in culture, is why the triangle will never disappear from public memory. For NOAA, the verdict is clear. The Bermuda Triangle is no more dangerous than other busy stretches of ocean. Their data shows no statistical anomaly. The disappearances so often cited have natural explanations: storms, currents, human error, mechanical flaws. The mystery lives not in numbers but in the way people interpret them. The Navy echoes this conclusion. Their accident reports are methodical and unsentimental. Fuel miscalculations, weather misjudgments, overloaded ships. There are no mentions of aliens, portals, or curses. For the Navy, every loss is tragic, but also a lesson. Each case informs better training, sturdier designs, and safer voyages for the next generation. Yet myths aren't entirely without purpose. They remind us of the ocean's power, sparking humility in those who cross it. To call the triangle cursed may be wrong, but it conveys an important truth. The sea remains unpredictable. Myths dramatize what science explains. Together, they keep our respect for the ocean alive. Tourists still flock to the triangle, some seeking thrills, others chasing legends. Cruises announce when they enter the fabled zone. Shops sell mugs, shirts, and maps. The myth has become an economic asset. Even as scientists dismantle it, the triangle thrives as brand and symbol, proving stories can outlive the facts that spawned them. Cultural impact is undeniable. The triangle has inspired novels, films, songs, even video games. Its image appears everywhere, from horror comics to travel brochures. For many, it's less about danger and more about atmosphere. The triangle is shorthand for mystery, an oceanic riddle that entertains even those who know the science behind it. As technology advances, the myth may fade but never vanish. Satellites, sonar, and GPS ensure fewer mysteries remain unsolved. Yet people still crave places where the unknown feels close. The triangle fills that role. It is less a danger zone than a cultural landmark, a reminder that even in a mapped world, mystery still sells. What the Bermuda Triangle ultimately reveals is not a hole in the ocean, but in our psychology. We prefer dramatic explanations over mundane ones. A storm erasing evidence feels anticlimactic. A curse feels thrilling. Myths endure because they satisfy emotional needs. The triangle is a case study in how belief shapes reality. For NOAA scientists, the focus remains on real ocean challenges: climate change, rising seas, fragile ecosystems. These issues may lack the romance of myths, but they are urgent. The triangle draws people to the conversation, and once curiosity is hooked, it can be redirected toward real science. In this way, myth becomes an unexpected ally. In the end, the Bermuda Triangle is a legend stitched from accidents, storms, and imagination. Ships and planes did vanish, but not for mystical reasons. The ocean itself is explanation enough. NOAA and Navy records strip away fantasy, but what remains is still powerful. A reminder of nature's strength and humanity's hunger for mystery. So when you hear stories of the Bermuda Triangle, remember this. The real wonder is not in curses or alien forces, but in the sea itself. Vast, unpredictable, and humbling. The ocean doesn't need myths to be extraordinary. The triangle is a story we tell, but the Atlantic remains the true, timeless mystery.